Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you can hear me. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. I got my coffee, I got some water. We're here in New Orleans today, this week, technically. Well, sort of. I am working at a co working space here in New Orleans called The Warehouse. We are not getting sponsored or paid to say that, but it's a really, really cool place. I'm here with my team lead. We're here. I am in this space of a phone booth with padded walls, and I have a fan and some lights and little a little work spot. So we're here. We're just vibing. We're having coffee. It's a good day. It's extremely humid here in New Orleans. You know me, your boy's from Detroit, Michigan, and it's a little cold up north, but it's nice to be in some warm weather. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, thank you for joining. If you are in the building, if you are on stream with us, make sure, if you're not already, follow Split Software on Twitter, twitter.com/Split Software. If you're not following your boy, follow me right there, Chris, on Twitter at twitter.com/Salt and Burnham. I'm going to get rid of that. Last time I did a stream, I had this up on stream the whole time, or like for a long time, and it wasn't that good. My bad, y'all. Sorry. So I'm going to hide that. I'm going to bring on my guest today. So stoked for this. We are going to watch me fumble through some things. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we're going to fumble through some things. So let me bring my guest on. What's going on, Francesco? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well. It's funny that you said that it's chilly there. It's chilly also here, and I believe I'm on the other side of the ocean. I'm usually in a warm country like Italy, but now it's winter also here. So today I was walking with my full jacket on, with my hat on. But depending on the day, yesterday I was walking with my jacket, but after 10 minutes I had to take everything out because we had like 15, 20 degrees all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's cold in Michigan. We got hit with a winter storm last week. And like if you know Michigan, it looks like this, right? And you got the UP. So like everything up here, like in the upper part of Michigan, got slammed with snow, and everything on the lower part. So I'm down in this area right here. It was mostly slush and ice and rain. So I left all of that to come to New Orleans, where it's 85 degrees. It's in the 80s, and it's super humid and hot out, and I love it. I love this weather. So yeah, so that's where I'm at now. So hopefully you're staying warm.
Yes, inside my house, I'm warm. That's a good part.
Go. That's all that matters.
And to be clear, it wasn't the case in December because basically for 2 weeks, and it was the coldest week in Italy, my heating just broke. So for 1 week, I was with my family, just trying with electricity to heat us up, but then luckily everything got replaced, and now we are back on usual heating.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got everything squared away.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, let everybody know about you, Francesco. What do you do? Where do you work? All the good things.
Okay, so I work pretty much everywhere. I work from Italy, but in the world. I'm a senior developer advocate at a company that is called Ivan. And what we do is basically we take the best of the open source technologies and we productionize, we create a managed service out of them. Just a quick note here. I said we take the best of the open source and we create a managed service. I believe Ivan, it's a really good company because we are giving back a lot. A lot of what we produce for our internal use, actually goes back to the open source. So, for example, we develop during the years some tools to do cloud backups that are now available in the open, are purely open source tools. And also we have a dedicated OSPO team, open source office team, that has people fully dedicated only to work on the upstream tools that we offer as managed service. So I believe this is quite a unique place where you work with, we produce a lovely technology. It's a great technology. We have an amazing 99.99% SLA. At the same time, we are good citizens because we give back to the open source. And, as a developer advocate, is kind of the sweet spot where all my demos are about purely open source tools that you can do or manage yourself on premises or wherever you want. But if you want a nicer experience and you don't want the overhead of managing, a huge database yourself, you can come to Ivan and we can do that for you.
Nice, I dig it. We're gonna jump into some things here. If you want to follow Francesco on Twitter, you can do so right here, twitter.com, TISIOT. I don't want to butcher your last name, but it's first initial, last name.
Yeah, and so I'm the correct spelling is Francesco Tisiot, and no matter where I'm in the world, either in Italy or outside of Italy, almost nobody can say my name correct the first time, because my surname, even if it's purely Italian, it's quite uncommon. Yeah. And when I'm outside of Italy, my name, there are various variations of Francesco, Francisco, and so on.
Right.
So, yeah, I made a presentation out of it as a good DevRel person.
Cool. And I want to see that presentation. So hopefully we cross paths in person at some point in life. That'd be really cool. And so you're from Italy, and you're Italian? Is that I'm picking that up?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So I'm Hungarian. But I love cooking Italian food. So like I love vibing with other Italians, even though I'm not Italian, because I can talk like Italian food. I love it. I cook like whole Italian food feasts back in Michigan, and it's really, really good. It's probably not as good as the stuff you can cook, but
well, I would say it's probably better than the stuff that I can cook. I'm happy. I'm happily married with my wife, which she loves cooking and she's really good at it. So I'm happy that I can only experience sitting at the table and eating. Or, I have all the duties of the last man in the kitchen. So I position all the forks and the knife. I do all the small things that don't have a big impact on the dish because I'm really bad at that.
Well, you get an A for effort. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. So if anybody is tuned in right now and is unfamiliar with Split Software and who I am, my name is Chris DeMars. I'm a developer advocate at Split Software. Split Software is a service platform. We are a feature management and experimentation platform. So A/B testing, feature flags, canary release, all that cool stuff, progressive delivery. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to split.io. Like I said, you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/splitsoftware. And if you're looking to get into the feature flag A/B testing space and you want a free trial, check this out. Check out split.io/sign up for a free account. You can go there and sign up. A lot of great benefits come along with that. So yeah, let's get into the stream. So what are we going to be talking about today? So the title is Connecting the Dots from Databases to Streaming with PostgreSQL and Apache Kafka. What does that mean? What are we going to be doing today? What are you going to do? What are you going to walk me through? How much fun are we going to have?
Okay, so one good thing is that we will talk about pasta. But Perfect. Before talking about pasta, we need to talk about what we are aiming for. You and Split Software is a great tool to deliver code, if I'm not mistaken. I'm basically on the other side of the pond, where we don't provide any way of building code, or we will touch on that on a little bit. But we basically manage data infrastructure. So your code will probably need to land some data somewhere or read the data from somewhere. So we basically manage that part. What we're going to see today is a combination of technologies. If you have been working with any kind of application code sometime in the past, the most obvious choice in order to store the data is a database. So you push a row to the database, you read the row to the database. And that's fine in this sort of push and pull one row and you push one row and you retrieve one row. However, what's next? The application pushing and retrieving one row is just the first kind of entry of the data. But then the data has, as we know, the data has a lot of value. Your company wants to perform analytics on top of that, wants to react on something that is pushed to the database. And how do you do that? Well, the traditional approach to this was, for example, let's say that I need to do an analysis of all the sales all the purchases that our customer did in our application. In the old times, I was doing an export overnight and populating what was called a data warehouse, basically an analytical system, the next morning for my business people to go and check the next morning what were the purchases of yesterday night. This is called batching system. So it's something that you run every now and then to populate the next technology. However, we live now in some sort of fast-paced time where we don't have the luxury of waiting one day before being able to react to what's happening in our business. If, for example, we see a sudden drop in the orders, we cannot wait 4 hours or 5 days or 1 hour before finding out that there is something broken in our process. So we need to be able to react almost immediately to changes happening in our data set. At the same time, what you don't want to do is to re-architect your application because you're changing the backend storage, because you maybe have spent 10 years building your application and you don't want to change that code, which is completely working. So how do you do this? How do you enable this kind of tracking all the changes that are happening in your database without more or less touching the database or the application? Here it comes the power of a streaming technology like Kafka. And I believe you had Lucia last week, some time ago, talking about Kafka itself. So in a couple of words, Kafka is a streaming technology. Allows you to push the data into Kafka from any kind of producer, including a good variety of technologies. And in streaming mode, it will feed all the consumers of the information. That could be one or multiple. If we keep with the example of the order, you could have one consumer of the order that is the person in charge of the inventory that has to check that, for example, the glasses of water are not running out of the inventory. But you could have another consumer of the same information that could be the person doing the billing. They are both consumers and they would like to receive the information about the order being sent as soon as possible. Kafka enables exactly that. Now, the title of the stream is Connecting the Dots. So what we will see today is how to connect basically the streaming engine, which is Kafka, and the Postgres database, which contains our data, in a way that is reliable, that is fast, and that allow us to track all the changes almost immediately, or immediately. So the example that I will show you today will showcase a Postgres database that will act as the backend of our application. And then we will create what is called a Kafka Connect connector that is basically creating the bridge between Postgres and Kafka.
Awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. We're going to do it. I'm going to flip it over and we're going to share your screen and then we can walk through some stuff.
So what you see here is the event console. As I said, we offer several services, several open source tools as a managed service. And what you see here is I created 3 services just for the sake of having something to play a couple of hours ago, 3 hours ago. And I created a Postgres service that will be the place where we land data. I created a Kafka service that will be our streaming engine. And then let's see, maybe we will also use a third database, a different database, MySQL, to showcase a nice touch that Kafka adds in the middle. So all these three are empty boxes, because by default, when you create a database, it's empty. So what we are going to do now is we are going to connect and insert some data. So we are mimicking, basically, our application creating some data. Since I'm a DevRel person and every DevRel needs to showcase a little bit of the terminal, I'm filling my duty. And what I'm doing here is I'm connecting to the database using the Ivan command line interface. And if you check, this is me saying, Ivan, please create a client to the service called demo Ivan CC Postgres, which is the same name that I had in my console. So let's go back to the terminal. Let's click enter, and now we are connected. If we check if there are any tables around, there is nothing. This is Postgres telling me I'm empty. Okay, so as I said, we will talk about pasta. So let's create a table called pasta. The table has the table has a code which is a primary key and a name. So should we insert some data into the table? Let me do a little trick, which is basically saying that I want to track the changes in all the columns in my table. And then let's insert 3 rows, one for spaghetti, one for pennette, and one for linguine. So I have spaghetti here, pennette here, linguine. If I check now my pasta table, it contains exactly the 3 rows that we were discussing, with 3 codes and my 3 names.
So okay, I'm gonna at least stop you right here. So the code, is that like an ID that you would get like in the database?
Yes, it can. Okay. It could be generated automatically in the database, or it could be some sort of logic coming from the application. It's up to you. The database, the Postgres database, has the ability to create random UIDs if needed. There are multiple, specifically in Postgres, there are multiple extensions that allow you to define different types of UID. But it could also be, a code that you associate with a customer or something like that, which is generated in the application itself.
Cool, sweet.
Okay, so we have our data in our Postgres table. How do we move this to Kafka? Because as we were seeing before, those two are different technologies. They don't talk with each other. Well, there are different ways to do it. The basic way, what I call the basic way, is basically re-mimicking the same stuff that we were doing initially. So every now and then, I take all the data from the Postgres database, or I query the Postgres database, I retrieve all the data, and I push them to Kafka. This is the basic way, but it's not efficient because I'm every time loading the entire dataset from the database table to Kafka. You can imagine this option works if I have 3 rows. It doesn't work if I have 1,000,000 rows that I want to move every time. There are another couple of query-based methods that allow me to push the data into Kafka, which are based on, for example, if you have a timestamp or an always increasing ID that you can use to say, well, last query, I saw that the maximum ID was 6. In the following query, I will only filter rows with ID greater than 6. These methods work, but have some edge cases where they are not working anymore. And I did in the past an entire presentation on those edge cases, which are quite advanced, but it can happen. What I'm going to show you today is a different method. It's called the log-based method. And the technology that we are going to use, it's called Debezium. Debezium is an open source project that instead of querying the database, does something that is a little bit smarter. So what every database in the world does is that every time you write a row in the database itself will write the row into the internal state that we see here, into the internal table. But also, what the database will do is it will write on a log that, hey, Chris inserted linguine now. Why does it write to the log? Well, because if the internal state of the database takes fire, you have something that you can use to replay and to recreate the internal state. So what the Debezium does is, instead of querying the database, it goes to the log and basically checks in the log if there is any new entry in the log. And as soon as there is a new entry in the log, it pushes the new entry in Kafka. So if we stop a second, we have Postgres, we have some sort of this Debezium, which we don't know what it is, and we have Kafka. How do we glue all the things together? Well, let me show you one thing. So let's go into the Kafka instance. Kafka is not only a streaming platform. As I said, it has a component called Kafka Connector that allows you to take the data from an existing technology or push the data to another technology. So what we can do here is we can create a connector. And what we will say is we create a source connector. So we tell Kafka we need to source the data from somewhere else. And here is where we see the Debezium connector for Postgres. So this is the dedicated connector that allows us to source the data from the Postgres database. So we can click on Get Started. And here there is a good list of parameters that you can fill it manually. Or if you are lazy like me, you have some sort of pre-cooked. Just let me check one thing.
So if it's pre-cooked, that means it's not al dente, right? I'm just trying to throw some jokes in there, right?
That's a very good joke. That's a very good joke. So what now we will do is something like this. I can edit, because every connector is defined in JSON. So I can copy and paste my my definition, but I believe it has an error. So what I need to do is go in here, schema registry, and copy this. Yes, exactly. Okay. And okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing a few tricks at the same time in order to reestablish the connection between the components. And as you can see, I'm using a very secure password. So you will never be able to understand which password I'm using.
That
so let's now click on
very secure.
Click on Apply, and let's try to click on Create Connector. Okay, database hostname. Okay, let's check the database hostname. So it's telling me that my database hostname is not correct. So I need to go to my database, Postgres, and I can check the hostname. And I recently changed my Ivan project, so I'm happy that everything is breaking down. Okay, pasta, Avro converter. There we are. This was the old name of the database. Now I have a new name. Let me check also the port, which will probably be different. And there we are. So this can seem a little bit complex because the list of parameters could be a little bit complex. But what I'm saying is basically, point to the Postgres database, you will find the data there. You will find what is called a publication, that is the method for Postgres to write down the notes about everything that is happening. And every time you see a change in that publication for the table pasta that we just created, propagate the change to Kafka. Now we can see that the connector is running. So we should be good. How can we check that the data is landing in Kafka? Well, let me check. Let me do one other trick here that I need to change the URL again in another script for the schema registry to work. Okay. Let's check this. So I'm going back to the command line. And if I divide my command line in two, on the left, I have my database connection. On the right, I try to basically read from Kafka with a tool called kcat. What I'm saying here is connect to some sort of Kafka, which is defined in this kafkacat.config file in consumer mode. So I'm reading data from Kafka. And this is basically the topic that I'm reading for. It's my public pasta table. And the other parameters are because I'm applying a little bit of schema to the data that I'm pushing to Kafka. So I need to retrieve the same schema from a tool called schema registry. So if now I'm reading, let's hope that everything works. Oh, it seems that is working. So let's check what is in here. We have 3 rows on the left in the database table. What we have in the right is, again, a richer representation of those 3 rows, exactly how Postgres writes them in the log. So we can see that we have a row for spaghetti with 1112222 as code. Then we have for pennette, and then we have for linguine. So we have kind of the same representation in Kafka. Now, let me show you the streaming part, because as of now, I just demonstrated that you move the data from one place to the other.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me try to do. So we now, on the left, insert farfalle. You can see that is 666,666 because I personally find that farfalle is something that you should never eat. It's a format of pasta that I don't like, so I'm using 666 for that.
That's funny. I like farfalle though.
No, because I have really. If you follow me on Twitter, I have really strong opinions on food, specifically Italian food. Now, for all the foreign food, I love it, but I'm really picky for the Italian food. Farfalle has the problem that has the crossing bit. So either you cook perfect the tail or you cook perfect the crossing bit. There is no way of getting both cooked at the same time.
Got you. Okay. I'm
taking
a note of that right now. A mental note. No farfalle. I got to get rid of the farfalle. Yeah. I'm going to donate the bag of farfalle I have at home.
Yep. That's very wise decision. So back to the topic. Now we insert on the left. I'm expecting to see something happening on the right almost immediately. Let's try it. Okay. We saw that we inserted. And now we have the farfalle over here immediately. That's the beauty of the streaming part. Let's try to update a row. We went from this row, which has pennette, to something called pennellisce. It's just another type of pasta. You can imagine this as being an update on a customer information, a customer address.
Gotcha.
So we did, and immediately we have the, on the right, we have the pennette here. Check one interesting thing on the right. We have what we call the before value and the after value. So we are able to see that before it was pennette, now it's pennellisce. This is extremely valuable information if you need to do auditing about who changed what, because you have the complete picture about what happened. And the same goes if I, for example, delete spaghetti. I know that we should never delete spaghetti, but it happens in life. What I have in this, on the right, on Kafka, is that before it was spaghetti, after is null. So it's telling me that there is no more row.
Wow. That's cool. That's really powerful.
Yep. Let me show you an additional step. So I believe bridging the dots, I've been showing you one way to bridge the dots, which is from Postgres to Kafka. The beauty of Kafka is that basically it speaks, do you translate lingua franca? It's a language that everybody understands.
Okay.
So once I have this data in a JSON format, it's in our format, similar to JSON in Kafka. Now, the beauty of Kafka is that I can take this data and populate a completely different technology with it. So let me give you a really simple example. Again, I need to change a couple of these things. But basically, what you can do is, I need to pick one of this. What you can do is you can populate other technologies. It could be a S3 bucket where you push all the data. It could be Google BigQuery. It could be something completely different. There is no really limit to what you can do once the data is in Kafka. So let me just check. There's some connection parameters here. Okay. This one. And let me copy also the port. Okay, so what we are doing now is we are using the same Kafka Connect technology that allow us to take the data from Postgres into Kafka. And we will take the data from Kafka to MySQL, another database, a different technology. So let's go back to the connector. We create another connector. This time we want to sync the data. We want to take the data from Kafka to another technology. And let me check the JDBC sync. We will use this. Again, since I'm lazy, I could fill everything by hand, but I believe I have a JSON pre-cooked. Let me check. Let me try to create the connector and check if I did all the changes needed. It seems that it's working.
That's good.
Okay, so okay, now I need one other change in my following code, and we should be good to go in a few seconds. Okay, there we are. So now what I want to show you is if I manage to, okay, so we have always on the left Postgres. This part is Postgres. The top part is Kafka. The bottom part, now I'm connecting to MySQL. Okay. Let me check if there is something in MySQL. I have 3 rows, Penelice, Linguine, Farfalle. Let me do a select star from pasta here. It's Linguine, Farfalle, Penelice. It's exactly the same 3 rows that I had in Postgres. I didn't have to do anything to push this data into MySQL. Everything, cool. I'm using few hidden tricks here, but this is one of the capabilities that you have. You can control this in a much stronger method if you need, but this just works out of the box. Now, if I do an insert of Fusilli on the left, I have Fusilli immediately available also here.
That's really cool how it'll translate across different database technologies. That's really, really cool.
Exactly. Let me show you one last trick. Cool. Let's say that because, I'm Italian, I need to evangelize a lot of people. I want to add in my Postgres table a column that says for how many minutes you need to cook every pasta, because that is, something really needed.
I need that information.
On the left side, I will alter the table pasta and add the column cooking minutes, which is an integer. Okay, so now I'm saying for maltagliati is a type of pasta, it's 15 minutes. For farfalle, it's 10 minutes, and for penelice, it's 8 minutes. So it's 10 minutes for Farfalle, 8 minutes for Penelice. Let's go back to MySQL, and not this one, but this one. The column is added, and I have exactly the 3 rows as expected. So also, if I can, it's supported that if I dynamically change the source of my data, also the target dynamically changes. This can be really a wow factor. If you are in the data space, can also be a little bit, why should I do that? Because you may want to keep a tight control of the database structure, but it's a possibility that you have, or you can limit if you need.
Wow. So can you use this technique? So we're doing this in Postgres. We're doing it. We're translating it over to MySQL. Could you also take this and throw this in like an object database solution like Mongo, or like I don't know what other ones are out there nowadays, but Mongo?
Well, let's say, let me check just 1 second. Let me try. So let's go back to Kafka. Connectors. Let's say that you want to sync. Create connector, and I want to sync. Do you want to go to Cassandra? Do you want to go to MongoDB? I don't have an instance of Mongo running here, but you can basically do the same.
Oh,
so you can go to Snowflake if you want, to OpenSearch, Elasticsearch, BigQuery, Google Cloud Storage. If you, for example, select, let's say, let me show you the, you could even just have an HTTP sync. Let's say that you want to have an HTTP call every time you receive a specific change. You can do that. The beauty of every connector is also in that you can fire a message for every message that is coming in, or you can apply filters. For example, if you have the clickstream of your website, you want to only send purchases to the people in charge of checking the purchases. Only send the cancellation to the people that are checking the customer churn or something like that. So you can be really, really specific in defining what kind of data you are sending to who, always happening in streaming mode.
Wow, that's really cool. I dig that a lot.
Do you want to try to create something with Ivan yourself?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let me get some windows squared away here. Let me move some things around on my machine. Let me move this over here. Let me squeeze this up. All right, let me get rid of this, and I'll get rid of that. And this, and this, and this, and this. I think we are good to go. Let me get rid of that. All right. Perfect. So I'm going to get out of here. I think it's exit, right? Clear. All right. I'm going to share my screen. I'll remove this one. Present. All right, so we have my terminal open. So we did install Postgres earlier. That was brew install Postgres. So anybody that's watching at home, if you do want to install Postgres, this is how it is. Brew install. You have to have Homebrew to use brew, but download Homebrew and then brew install Postgres. So we already did that earlier today. And then I think you can run, what is it, PSQL V? We'll show you the version. Is there a way to do version
minus version?
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's the version of PSQL that we're on is 14.7 through Homebrew. All right, Francesco, walk me through what you want me to do. We're good to go here. We got it rocking and rolling. We're installed.
Okay. So can you go? Do you have a browser open?
Yeah. Let me share that. And let me switch that over. Okay. We're in the Avon console.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So what you can do here is you can create a Postgres database. So click on Create Service. You can see that we offer a huge variety of services. Click on Postgres. So we offer from Postgres, which is a database, MySQL, Cassandra, Redis, a lot of them. You can select now the version of Postgres that you want to run. 14 is okay.
Yep.
We also released the 15 recently. You can select the cloud provider because we work on top of, as you can see, multiple clouds. And then if you scroll down, you select. It's personal preference. Like I love to try them all, and my work is actually to try a lot of things on them all. But it's up to you.
We'll just stick with the default.
What I found that in Italy, I believe there is a nice region of Amazon in Milan, which is really close to me. It's just 1 hour away, and I use that for most of my demos. So, okay, now you selected the cloud and cloud region. You can scroll down. Scroll. The next is you select the service plan, basically defining the size of Postgres or any service. And lastly, you can, at the very bottom of the page, or you can go small with the obist, it's fine.
Okay.
And at the end of the page, you can give the name. So you can either leave this as, random or, this is a Postgres, though, so I would call it split Postgres or PG.
There we go.
Okay, so click on Create Service. So what is happening now is that we are creating the service for you. It will take 2-3 minutes to be built. But in the meantime, what we can see here is that you have already at the top some sort of information on how to connect. And it's plenty of docs telling you how to connect. There is also a connect with section between the service URI that allows you to browse and to see various options from PSQL to the Ivan client. Okay. Then if you scroll down, now, like we have the service URI, which is more or less everything that you need to connect with to your Postgres. And we will use that later. And then you have all the other connection parameters. If you scroll down again.
I'm all the way down.
Okay, so click on skip step because I believe this is the new. Okay, skip step. Okay, add data to your database. Like we have an option to automatically add data to your database if you just want to test Postgres itself. Okay, no, we can skip this. You can also skip this as well. And you can just click on Finish Setup. Okay, now this is basically the entry point of all our services. Depending on the service that you are using, it will show a little bit more, a little bit less. If you scroll down, there is something interesting here. The first thing that I want to highlight is the change plan. Basically, you started with a very basic plan that can satisfy your needs. But then let's say tomorrow you want a bigger, more beefy database. You can change the plan and we will do that for you without almost any downtime. So we will manage all the fact that we are creating a bigger set of machines if you go to the premium plans which have high availability in it. Wow. And we will move the data for you. It will almost be a no change because your host name and your port will not change.
Nice.
If you cancel this, I want to show something even more interesting, which is the migrate cloud option. It doesn't happen often, but it's a little bit up. Yes, there. It doesn't happen often, but maybe your business, which was in Montreal until today, tomorrow moves to Italy because you're selling the best farfalle ever that will change the Italian market. So again, like for the change of the plan, you can move between clouds, and we are going to handle that for you. And for you, there will be no change because the hostname and the IP will always be the same.
Wow.
So you can move this within a new region within the same cloud or in a completely other cloud.
Nice.
So you can go from Montreal to Australia, from Google to Amazon, and we handle that.
Nice.
The last thing that I want to show you is, I believe, something important for what you do as in Split Software and what we do. Because you were talking about faster deployment, canary environments. Sometimes when you deploy changes or when you want to test changes, together with the new code, you would like also a copy of the database itself with all the data in order to change that the new logic is working correctly or not. So as of now, you still cannot do that because you are on a hobbyist plan, so we don't offer the option in the hobbyist plan. But there is a button there, New Database Fork. This basically allows you to take a copy of the existing database as it is as of now and copy it over a new instance. So you can say, you did a massive change in the application. Do you want to test that it's working correctly? Repoint to this URL that has the same data as I have in my production, so you can check if it's working okay or if it's destroying everything.
Nice.
So if you scroll up now, there are a lot of other options here that I believe if you are interested, go to ivan.io, sign up, and you will find all of them. So if you see at the top, now all the nodes are in green state, so everything is running. So now we can connect with PSQL. So if you copy the service URI, there is the copy button on the right. Okay.
Got it.
Now you can go to the terminal.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
And you can basically write PSQL and then copy the URI within double quotes.
Oh, yep. That's, yeah. Let me backspace this up here.
I believe we still see the
oh, hold on.
The browser.
Yeah, let me fix it. Stop screen, present, share screen. There we go. All right.
Yep.
So we have PSQL.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, boom. There we go.
Okay,
like
now you are in the database. Yes. Try to create a table.
Let me move this over a little bit. Move this over just a bit more so we can see some things. All right. So I'm not up to speed with the cool kids and the database commands. I haven't touched database work in so long, and the last time I had a database class was 10 years ago. So if we're creating a database, what is the first action we do?
I believe so. You like the funny story is that I only failed one exam in my university time. The only exam that I failed in my university time was the database one.
Oh wow, that's funny.
And still, I've been working in databases for 15 years after that. So what we can do is now we can create a table called pasta with the terminal.
So is it create table?
Yeah. Yes. Then you call it pasta. Yeah. You open the bracket.
Let's see here. Do we hit enter, or are we just parentheses, or
Yep.
like?
No, it's the how do you call it? The usual brackets.
Just the square brackets
not
like
the
this?
Square no, not the square brackets, the round brackets, sorry.
Oh, the parentheses. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. You can say you want an ID, which is an int, and then comma, and then name, which is, I believe is it text? I don't think it's string. Oh, we can try it. Yeah, close the bracket.
Let's try that.
You need a semicolon and then press enter. Okay, string doesn't exist.
All right, let's do
it's text. Text. Let's try with text. Oh, we have the table. So now you can insert into pasta, and you write values, open the same round bracket, and you can write 1, which is the ID, comma, and now you can write, no, you don't need to write ID. You just write 1, and then comma, and then you can write penne or farfalle, whatever. You need to have single. How do you say? Yes.
Single quotes.
Yeah, single quotes. Yep. Okay, you inserted your first row. So if you do select star from pasta, semicolon.
Oh, I got to remember that. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
There we go. So I believe this showcases, first of all, that you can create a database with Ivan in 2 minutes. But then this is basically the entry point of our data set. If you're writing applications that need to write or read from a data store, I would say that the database is still one of the best options that you have. Because no matter which type of databases you choose, if they have some sort of guarantees that once you write, it's there, then you can retrieve the data. They have amazing capabilities of, writing and storing one or more rows that you throw at them. Is still one of the best ways of, storing the data that is used by an application. That's awesome. But then the next step is what you do with the data. And what we saw today is that basically integrating Kafka streaming technology with a database is not so complex and opens the doors to a huge variety of use cases of your data.
Awesome. Just want to give a shout out to Todd. What's up, Todd? Hope you're having a good day, brother. Francesco is schooling me on pasta and databases, and I really, really dig it. I want to insert one more into this database. So let me see if I can do this. Here we go. All right, we're going to insert into pasta values. We're going to give it 2 for the second slot, right? And then we'll do. Ooh, what do we want to do? I love so much pasta. What do I want to do? There we go. There we go. Then select all from. I hope this worked.
Yep.
Sweet. That's really cool.
It worked. Really good. Ravioli. We have the suggestion from Todd about ravioli.
See, I love ravioli. So funny story about ravioli. And if my partner is watching at someplace, I've been a front end developer for a long time, 26 years. I've been a developer advocate on and off, officially and unofficially, depending on the company, for about 10 years. But during all of that time, way back in the day, I used to be a truck driver. And I was still writing code on the side. Both, I was working as an independent contractor, and I was also, working on freelance projects. But I went back to school later in life, and that's a whole other story. But I was driving a truck, and I worked for a local company here in Michigan that is an Italian frozen food company. And the family, they came from Calabrese, Italy.
Yep.
So I know so much about pasta, but if you've ever had this before, And if you ever come to the States, if you ever come to Michigan or you come to the States, I'll hook you up and I'll cook it for you. But it's amazing. You know, it's old school, old world recipe that was brought over, and so good. So yeah, cannot forget the ravioli. So thank you, Todd, for that. I am going to throw in here, insert. If I can spell, insert.
Frozen pasta is a sin.
Oh, but it's cooked fresh there in the warehouse, and then it's got to be flash frozen. But it's so good. Insert into pot. It's not like your like Chef Boyardee. This is old school Italian recipes that were brought over from Italy. Insert into pasta values 3 ravioli. And we're going to do select from pasta.
And there we are.
Look at that. There we go. Frozen pasta is a sin. Oh, I see what you're saying. Todd, listen, don't get lippy, okay, buddy boy?
Yeah, Todd, I have a question for you. Todd. Where do you stand with pineapple on pizza? Because that is my that is my hill.
That is a sin.
That is, yeah, exactly. I agree completely. Actually, I did it was in September. I did a talk at an event where I was talking about streaming anomaly detection. So once the data is in Kafka, you can do not only take the data from a place and push it somewhere else, you can do streaming calculations on top of it. And I was using another tool that we offer called Apache Flink. And the use case that I found is the most compelling use case that you find in Italy, that if you do a pizza order in Italy, we have a dedicated section of the Italian pizza police that only monitors for orders which includes pineapple on pizza. And if you do the order, they will catch you. So I created that example, and basically it's like you write SQL to include to add data into a database. You can also write SQL to transform the data while it's in streaming mode with tools like Apache Flink.
Nice. I dig it. I like this. This is really, really cool. I'm going to have to play around with this more. So if you're using this, can you also use GraphQL to query these databases? Can you use that? Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are various options that you can basically put on top of a database or even Kafka to be able to query the tools with GraphQL.
Nice. That's awesome. Is there anything else that we wanted to show? Or anything you wanted me to do on my end?
I believe let's do one thing. Let's scroll down in the what is the name? Yes, exactly that. Let's try to do something that I told you before. Let's try to migrate this instance from wherever you created to another cloud.
Okay,
and
cool.
Let's check if your session survives.
Let's do that. All right. So we go to migrate cloud, right?
Yep.
And then we'll use DigitalOcean for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll stick
to
with
New
York.
Okay.
Migrate.
Yep. Okay. Again, this is not immediate, because what we need to do is we need to recreate the same type of instance into another cloud. So if you scroll up a little bit, all at the top, again, what you see at the top is that the node is flashing in blue. What we are doing in here is we are creating new nodes for on the event side in the target location. Once we are able to create the new nodes in the target location, what we will do is we will start transmitting the data from the current database into the new database. Once that is done, we will basically smartly switch the host name to point to the new location. So for you, it should be transparent. Now, it will probably take a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, one interesting thing that I believe it, again, can bridge the gap with what you do as Split Software and what we do is the integrations bit. I don't know now if the integration are enabled. If you click on the integrations tab near the top, yes. You need to upgrade the plan. So because you selected the very basic plan. What we are enabling here is basically it's a database. So we monitor it on our side. We have 99.99% SLA, but you want to monitor it as well. So what you can do with the integration is, for example, send all the metrics to Datadog.
Right.
Send all the logs to OpenSearch or to other search engines that you may like. We have 3 clicks, 4 clicks pre-built integration with all the major players in this market. So what you can do is to have the database with us, know that we will solve most of the problems, but we don't know your business. So if you see that there is, a spike in the orders of your application and you want to scale the database, you have all the methods to monitor what's happening in your machine and scale up or down whenever is necessary. We offer also some basic metrics and logs visualization in the following 2 tabs if you click on them.
Let's see.
After the in the metrics tab or in the logs tab, if you check there. So you can see that we have out-of-the-box logs integration that you can browse on metrics integration. And this comes with the service. You're not paying anything extra to view this. Or you can take the same data and even richer data and push it to, Datadog, where you have all the other metrics of your application, your other services. And if you see here, well, these are the query statistics of what you just wrote.
That's cool. Yep.
You can use this as a standalone database. You can use this together with other databases. You can change the password of the main user. You can create a new user, new databases. Is a full Postgres database, so you have all the beauties of it. And if you check at the bottom left, you basically just use $0.03 for this demo, and you still have $300 and 1 month to explore the remaining set of Ivan things.
Yeah.
If you need more, well, just talk with us, and we are more than happy to demonstrate a little bit more.
Awesome. That's really cool.
It's still rebalancing there. Yes, it's taking a little bit. So again, you can see a lot of information here. The other interesting bit that maybe it's a little bit more advanced, but most of the time this is not a solo effort. You're not the only one with the keys of the Ivan data platform. So you can share the project that you're in with your coworkers. You can say, for example, you, Chris, you are the main actor here, so you are able to create databases and do integrations. You have a colleague that needs only to retrieve the connection details. So you can enforce a role that says you can only browse whatever someone else created, but you cannot interact. Or you have the super administrator that can delete everything if they want. Also, we put a little bit of guardrails to avoid that you, by mistake, delete a production environment. And there is a flag that you can set. Yeah, there is a flag that you set, okay, this is production. Ask me 3 or 4 times before you delete it.
Right. That's cool.
Okay. I believe we are still waiting. Can you go over the nodes? Because it should tell you what stage. Okay, so what you see here is that the original node is leaving. Because what happened is that we created the new node, we move all the data, and now basically we're at a stage where the new node is basically the new primary. The old node, we can say bye-bye, and it's on the way out. If you go back to the terminal,
Yep, let me pull the screen over here just a bit. There we go.
Can you run the same select star from pasta again?
Select star from pasta.
Okay, so it's the session that you had a problem because we switched the host name, so we changed the IP which is behind the host name. But if you run it again, you're still now connected. You didn't have to reconnect.
Wow, that's really cool. And the node completely switched over too.
Yes. So now all the data moved to the new location. Again, this can depend a lot on the amount of data that you have in the database, because if you have 5 terabytes of data, that takes a little bit.
Right.
But it's an option that you have always on the table.
That's awesome. Being able just to switch cloud providers and regions just with a click of a button, and just have it like it's like a fail-safe, right? Just have it transfer from one to the other and migrate over. That is extremely powerful. I really, really like that.
Yeah, I believe it's one of the things that it doesn't happen often. But knowing that you have the capability of doing that is actually something really powerful.
Yeah. I wonder too, and I'm just spitballing here, but like a good integration, even with Split, or just in general with any of these types of services, being able to put this stuff behind a feature flag. So, have 100% of the traffic in one cloud provider. And then if the decision comes to switch to another cloud provider, put that behind a feature flag, and then flip one toggle off and flip one toggle on, right? And then, or give 50% of the traffic to the one, gradually roll out that transition and migration from one cloud provider to the next using Split software. I think that'd be kind of cool. It may work, it may not work, but hey, it's just, I'm thinking, right? Gears are turning.
An interesting option could be, are you experiencing some problems with a specific region of Amazon US Note something?
Right.
Check a canary deployment into another region with a dedicated database and assess if suddenly you have no problem in performance whatsoever.
Yep.
And you can do this either with the fork or with other methodologies, but still you have the option. And nothing on the application side needs to change. You have the flexibility of just moving around where your database sits, or where Kafka sits, or whatever you're using as backend technology.
Yeah. That is really, really powerful. That is real powerful. Cool. Well, I think that sums it up, right? I think we're good.
Yep.
All right. Let me remove this. I'm going to go back to this screen. And then we're going to do this. So I think that was amazing, Francesco. Thank you so much I know it's late where you're at, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. But I really appreciate you giving me the time to do this. Being on stream, I learned a bunch today, and I thought I was going to fumble through this stuff because I haven't messed around with SQL stuff in so long. But this was really, really fun. It was really, really interesting. It makes me think about a lot of things. I'm going to wrap everything up. If you're not following Split, make sure to do that. Twitter.com/Split Software. Follow me, Chris DeMars, Twitter.com/SaltandBurnham. If you want to follow Francesco, right there you go. Twitter.com/FTISIOT. Francesco Iziot, right? Is that how I say that right?
Iziot. Yep, correct.
Yep. Awesome. And then let's see. If you're interested in anything that we're doing at Split Software, you can sign up for a free account, split.io/signup. Is there anything that you wanted to plug? Any conferences or podcasts or other streaming events coming up?
I believe I'm talking at some sort of Postgres conference next. I don't have, as of now, huge plans for the future. One thing about the question that Todd is asking, if there is a free tier, there is, as of now, the $300 of credits and 1 month to try. If you have more needs than $300 can cover, just come and talk to us. Maybe in the future, we will have some other options as well. But I believe as of now, the $300 is what you can start using. And we always encourage people that actually start hammering our platform. So if you are using and you need a little bit more time or more credits to check more, just contact us and we will be able to help.
Awesome. Cool. I really dig it. Thanks for joining, Todd. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, Francesco, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time out of your evening to join me. The next stream that is going to be happening, I will be actually out of town next week, but the following week, we are going to have JD Hillen on stream, and we are going to set up a Vue app and integrate the vanilla JavaScript SDK for feature flags into that Vue app. So that'll be real fun because everybody knows my love-hate relationship with JavaScript. So we'll see how that pans out. But if you're here, let's stick around. I'm going to see if I can find somebody to raid. Let's see who is on. We are going to raid my buddy James Q Quick. If you don't follow James on Twitter, you should definitely do that. Stick around. I am going to start the raid. Thank you again, Francesco, for everything. I appreciate it. We're definitely going to talk more. We're going to connect, and then hopefully we get to see each other soon within this year sometime. Either you come here or I go there.
Thanks a lot, and it was a pleasure being here with you. Thanks again.
Cool. Thanks, man. All right, we are going to start the raid in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Raid now. Thank you.